If you want your ex back, or you just want them to regret their choices, then you need to make them think that they've lost you, really lost you, and that you're not coming back this time. This is really your only path forward in this situation. Many people will try to convince their ex for another chance, or they'll hang around and hope their ex realizes they made a mistake. They'll be their friend, their confidant, and even their cheerleader. And then they'll be shocked when their ex leaves them in the dust and moves on to find somebody new. But here's why this happens every time. To be blunt, it's because they lose respect for you when it becomes clear that you don't respect yourself. And that's what's happening here. If your ex keeps screwing you around, treating you badly, and not giving you what you want, and you stick around, that sends the message that you don't think you deserve any better. You're willing to accept this treatment because it's the best that you can hope for. Now that doesn't sound very attractive, does it? So you need to change this narrative by changing your behavior. You need to make them miss you by making them think that they've lost you. All right, so let's think this one through. If you want your ex to think that they've lost you, then you need to act as if you're over them and you're moving on. So obviously, this is going to take a little acting on your part. You don't have to be Leo DiCaprio or anything, but you are going to have to pretend that you no longer want your ex back. So basically, before you do anything, you want to ask yourself, what would I do if I was truly over my ex and wanted to move on? And this is going to be hard at first, but I promise it will get easier. And of course, you don't have to act this way forever. You may decide that you're better off without your ex after this process, but you may also decide that you want to try again. Either way, I promise you'll be in a better position in a few weeks from now if you follow my advice. Now, it all starts with step 1, create distance. You need to get far away from your ex, really in every sense of the term. So if you still live together, move out. If you've been acting like friends, then stop spending time with them. And if you've been badgering them for a second chance, definitely stop that right now. Basically, you're creating emotional and physical distance from your ex, starting immediately. Imagine that your breakup was a good thing and that you're relieved to be free from the relationship. Now, act the way you would if that were the situation. You probably wouldn't keep hanging around, waiting for that text back, would you? No, instead you'd pick up your stuff, say goodbye, and never look back. And I know that it's never going to be as easy as I make it sound, but it really is crucial. And the harder it is for you, the harder it will be for your ex. Often people, they stay enmeshed after a breakup, and then things become so much worse. You start to resent one another, you feel exhausted trying to figure out what they want and how to treat them. And then instead of simply moving on, you flame out and begin to hate one another. So avoid this at all costs by taking space now. Of course, there are situations that are going to make this more complicated. If you have kids together, you live together, work together, share mutual friends and hobbies, or whatever it is, obviously it is going to be more difficult. But it's really always possible. Just remember, you want them to think that you're moving on, so act like it. That brings us to step 2, stop reaching out and stop responding to them. Now this is part of creating space, but I thought I would include it here just because so many of my clients do everything they can to get out of this one. They just feel like they need to keep talking to their exes or they're going to lose them forever. They just can't bear the thought of being alone, and they're worried that if they stop talking to their ex, they'll be upset and move on faster. Now these are all excuses that I do hear, but none of them are really valid. Your ex could be as mad as they want, but deep down, they know that they have no one to blame but themselves. They really can't expect you to stick around once they've rejected you the way that they did, right? Now, I'm not saying you should totally ghost your ex either. If they're trying really hard to get in touch with you, asking important questions or trying to get you to pay bills or something like that, then it is good to have a short conversation. But if they don't get the message that you're done, make it clear to them that you're trying to move on, and so you really need space right now. And that's usually enough to get them off your back. And there is one other benefit of cutting contact with your ex, and that is that the less they're talking to you, the more free time they have. And the more free time they have, the more opportunities they'll have to wallow in sadness and think about how much they miss you and miss having you around and hearing your voice. All right, and step 3 is to change your attitude towards them. So avoiding your ex is essential here, but it's not all that's required, because you're going to have to interact with your ex. And even if you don't, you need to be prepared in case it happens by chance. Just staying away isn't enough. You need to shift the way that you think about and look at your ex. I think many people get into trouble here because of the way they'd normally treat an ex. So if you are someone who treats their exes like their enemy, then you need to shift that mindset, not just towards this ex, but towards all of them. Unless they've done something, huge wrong to wrong you, it's always better to treat your exes with respect and distance rather than with hostility. This shows maturity, and it gives the sense that you've moved on much more strongly than if you're rude or standoffish. And obviously, this is most important when it comes to the person that you're trying to win back. So I think of it this way, be polite, be cordial. You can even have some small talk and make them laugh, but don't get sucked into a big conversation with them. Show them that there are no hard feelings, but that you're done having them in your life and you're moving on. I'm sure that on some level, you have the instinct to try to hurt them or let them see how much they've hurt you by breaking up, but that isn't going to help your cause. If you're cruel to them, you obviously are going to really upset them, but in the long run, you'll show them that you're somebody that they shouldn't engage with. Not only because we don't want to spend time with people who want to make us feel bad, but because it'll be clear to your ex that you're still stuck on them and not moving on, which is going to reset all the progress that you've made to this point. So treat them the way you would an old friend who you're no longer connected to. You don't hate them, but you're just not in the same place you used to be. And this is actually going to hurt your ex far more than being rude to them ever could, because it'll really nail home the idea that you're moving on without them. And that brings us to step 4, which is don't inquire about them. I mean, asking other people about your ex is only natural. You want to know how they're feeling, what they're doing, if they're dating again, whatever. But if you do this, you're actively working against making them think you've moved on. Because anyone worth asking has some connection to your ex. And that means there's a fair chance that this might get back to your ex and ruin the illusion that you're moving on. It doesn't matter if they're closer to you than they are to your ex. It doesn't matter if you make them promise to keep it secret. You just don't know. In fact, many people who will let that slip to your ex actually think they're doing you a favor. People love to play matchmaker. So if they know you miss your ex, they won't hesitate to try and connect you again because, they get caught up in the idea of it. They don't know what they're essentially sticking their nose where it doesn't belong and screwing up your plans. And even if your ex never finds out you've been asking about them, remember, this is about a mindset shift. If you're still secretly obsessing over your ex during the time apart, then you're going to subconsciously ruin all that you've created up to this point. Because the time will come when the two of you do reconnect, and if you haven't actually moved on, at least to some extent, then your ex is going to feel your desperation and you're going to wind up right back where you started. So don't take that chance. Just let your ex's life be a mystery. You have better things to focus on right now anyways. If you really want to know how your ex is feeling, I have a way to find out that your ex will never know about. And that's just by going to breakupbrad.com/quiz after the video. I put together a simple 5-minute quiz that will help you determine exactly what your chances are with your ex, and it's completely confidential. So go to breakupbrad.com/quiz to try it out for yourself. All right, and on to step number 5, make moves. So if you stay in the same place, your ex will never feel like they've lost you. So beyond just moving away from them physically and emotionally, you need to make moves in your own life that have nothing to do with them. And this is when they're really going to start to feel that distance, because they'll see you moving on with your actual life, not just in terms of your relationship. Now, I can't get too specific here because I don't know your exact situation, but you do. I think you know the things in your life that aren't ideal right now, and I think if you really think about it, you know what you need to do to take steps to fix them. So now is the time to make a plan and actually move forward with it. This can be, relatively simple stuff like improving your fitness, your appearance, whatever. Or it could be, more complicated like learning new skills, changing careers, improving your mental health. Really, the possibilities are endless here, but the important thing is to actually make moves. This breakup truly sucks, I know, but it also affords you, a unique opportunity. Relationships take up a lot of time. And obviously that's usually worth the trade-off. But now that you're single, you have more time and space to really focus on the things that matter to you in your own life. People typically make the most dramatic life changes after something traumatic like a breakup. And these changes can be really good, like what we just talked about, or they can be really damaging, like falling into depression or drug use. And you have a choice here, and I hope you make the right one. And step 6 is to date around. Now, it doesn't really matter how much you change your life, your outlook, and your attitude. Many exes simply won't get the message that you're moving on until you start dating other people after the breakup. Now, I know this can be a really difficult step, but it's an important one if you want your ex to see that you're moving on and that they've lost you for good. It's not easy, but it can be pretty simple. Just download a dating app and start swiping, chatting, and setting up meetings with other people. I wouldn't advise you to get too serious with these dates. Be upfront that you've recently been through a breakup and you're just looking to see what's out there. Meet new people, have fun, and get your confidence back. In fact, it's essential if you want to get your ex to see that you're really moving on without them. So stop holding yourself back and actually make it happen. You'll honestly be shocked at what a difference it will make. And that just about does it for this video, guys. I hope that I've shown you that you can affect your ex's feelings just by modifying your behavior in a few simple ways. Now, I said simple, not easy. You know, this is going to take a lot of effort on your part, but if you're serious about getting your ex back, you do need to be willing to put in the work. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and go to breakupbrad.com/quiz to find out how your ex really feels about you. I really appreciate it, and as always, see you in the next video.